You got Mac and Mac here on Birds 365. It's a football Friday. It means we're only days away from the Eagles going back out onto the field, taking on the Commanders down in D.C. You've gotten a couple opinions from us. We're going to get a very important opinion here for the next 20 minutes or so from our guy, Paul Domowitch, 33team.com. And, of course, JAKIBsports.com is that packed up for this upcoming game against the Commanders. All right, Damo, I got to see if I got company here. I think last week I was the only knucklehead who picked the Dolphins. Did you pick the Dolphins too? Was it you and I?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay. Yeah, so that means Damo and I were on the wrong side. This week, you and I have a chance to be on the right side. I'm going to see if you'll join me. I've asked a couple people so far. I've set the over for Sunday's game, sacks by the Philadelphia Eagles at 7.5.
Ooh.
Everyone has said, yeah, they'll get some, but they're not getting 7.5, Joe. They got to take the under. I'm at 8, so I'm the only guy. That's why I set it at 7.5, because I'm thinking 8 sacks for the Eagles. Are you going under or over 7.5 sacks?
Oh boy,
that's a big number, Domo.
I'll go with you on the over. You know, I mean,
all right. We went down last week on the Dolphins. We go down this week on a positive Eagle stat of 8 sacks. Thank you, Damo.
But they have 5 last time against Washington.
Yeah, that was the Nick Morrow game.
I think I counted. I looked at the stats. Howell's been sacked 30 times in the last 5 games.
Yeah,
it's not good. So yeah, I think he could be an inviting target, particularly if they're playing catch up, which I think they will be.
Agreed.
Yeah. I do think the Eagles will get plenty of pressure, but I think the Eagles are so good up front, Damo, that teams are so focused more than other weeks, to say the least, that, you know, Eric Bieniemy's telling Sam Howell all week, got to get the ball out this week, got to get the ball out, got to get the ball out. And I think that kind of shifts it a little bit. Whereas other teams, they come in and say, you know, New York Giants, all right, we'll take Wink's going to blitz. We all know Wink's going to blitz from the bus. But the talent level is different. And that's where you started on JAKIB Sports. And this is a big story this week because all of a sudden Jordan Davis shows up on the injury report. And I saw him yesterday. He was not moving well, Damo. So that's one to keep an asterisk on. And you talked about their run defense and the improvement there. I think it all starts with Jordan Davis in the middle. He has been unbelievable when it comes to tying up those blocks. Everything we envisioned when they got Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. Let the big guy tie everybody up and everybody else make the plays. That's worked to perfection in the running game.
Well, it worked for Georgia. And that's what Howie saw. You know, we just get their game, get their guys, translate it to the NFL game. And I mean, Jordan, I don't think he gets enough due for what he's done in the middle for that defense. I mean, they're historically good right now against the run.
Yeah, and Miami was number 1 coming into that game. Everybody talks about their passing game, understandably. They were number 1 in everything on offense, but they were ridiculous running the football, and a lot of that is due to their passing game. But the Eagles completely shut it down. You mentioned they had 2 kind of gash plays, and other than that, the vast majority, they got nothing. They got nothing on the ground. I can't tell you how impressed I am both ends of the football, pass rush, run stopping with this defensive front. It is unbelievable, this group. And I go to slot cornerback, and I'm going to emphasize it by this. I remember Doug Peterson telling me, you were probably there, Damo, at one of his sort of sessions. Quickest way to have a bad season, multiple injuries at the same position. We're in week 8. They've used 7 slot cornerbacks. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because of the front is getting home, and nobody can take advantage of it. Is this, you've been around this team for a long time, is this the best defensive front you think they've had?
Yeah, probably the most complete too. I mean, they don't have it's not like they have an edge rusher that can't can't set the edge against the run. I mean, I remember they drafted Milton Williams, and I didn't think much of him at the time. I mean, Milton Williams has become invaluable. I mean, I can put him anywhere.
Yeah.
He can play the run. He can play the pass. And then you've just got dominant people. And then Fletcher comes back. Yeah, I mean, and they're not even using – I mean, Brandon's at the end of his career, but, BG's not even getting many snaps anymore. That's just – I'd put it right up there with, I mean, you go back to, to the 80s with Reggie Jerome, Clyde Simmons, Mike Pitts, that group.
And that was great. But the depth here, that's where I think they separate themselves, because obviously, you got Reggie and Clyde and, Jerome, and those are all superstar type players. But they have such depth now. They come at you in waves. And Jody and I have given Bucky Brooks, he in the offseason, I give Bucky credit. He said, this is the best defensive front. He said it's the best position
unit,
regardless of
offense
position
or defense. Best unit in the entire National Football League.
And I think it was right.
Eagles defensive line.
I think it was right. At the time, I said, the Eagles offensive line is better than. No, I was wrong. He was right. This defensive front is, because they're great on defense, and they have no right to be great with that secondary. That's how I look at it.
I got to get a timeout in here. Because we're singing the praises of the Eagles defensive line, as well we should. They've been phenomenal. Do we got to give a little credit to the linebacker play? Does Zach Cunningham at least get a little bit of the credit? Nicholas Smart's get a little bit of the credit when you're shutting down other teams from running, and the Eagles are number one in the National Football League against the run, least yards per game. Don't your linebackers at least have to show up? Are we completely devoid of giving the linebackers some credit for being part of that run-stopping force that the Eagles have been for the first 7 games of the year?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think maybe one of the reasons they haven't gotten as much credit as they deserve for the way they've played against the run is because, I mean, the middle of the field has been a sieve as far as the pass. That's not all the linebackers' fault. I mean, that's the safeties. I mean, there had to be gives somewhere with all the injuries they've suffered. And Sean Desai has managed to survive. I mean, you look Sunday, they gave up 4 3rd and 8 or betters. I mean, a 3rd and 18, I think they gave up, 3rd and 12. And yet they didn't give up points in the fourth quarter. And as you guys pointed out earlier, they shut down the run. I mean, they're keeping people out of the end zone enough and playing well enough to, yes. I mean, I think Zach Cunningham has been a real nice pickup. And now that they got Dean back, that's not a weakness right now.
No, it's been, I described the linebackers as they've been better than expected. And Zach is just, it's like the old professional hitter cliche in baseball. He just knows how to play. But Nick Morrow, he's been the guy. I'm like, wow, where'd that come from? He's been rock solid. And to Jody's point, look, I mean, we saw Nick Morrow, and by the way, I talked to Nick a couple of weeks ago. I asked him flat out. I said, he played behind the worst defensive front in football last year, the worst, Chicago. And it showed. He wasn't great. Yeah. He got a contract with no guaranteed money. And he told me he specifically came here. Oh, yeah, I wanted to play behind this defensive front. And all of a sudden, he looks like a really solid player. And to the point I started asking the question, we all know N'Kobe is the long-term answer, but the Eagles are trying to win a Super Bowl. At what point does meritocracy come into it and say, all right, we got to keep Nick on the field and if he has a bad game, take him off. But until he has that bad game, are you surprised the Eagles went so quickly back to N'Kobe?
No, because I know how much they think of him, and I think they think he's going to get better every game, every snap he's out there. So, he's fast. He's faster than Nick. I don't know what the 40 times are, but I mean, they need to probably give Nick a few more snaps, but the three sacks he had are kind of, I mean, I don't put a whole lot of credence in those because
those were
so easy. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to have an abundance of wealth like that right now at a position.
Yeah,
And at
we
one
didn't
time,
expect that.
nothing.
I got to check
Yeah.
the PFF numbers while we're talking about. What Nick is up to number 5, the fifth
Fifth
best
best linebacker.
linebacker, off-ball linebacker in the
I'll
NFL.
give you a number. He
No.
leads the Philadelphia Eagles in tackles for loss this year.
Yeah.
All these other great defensive linemen that we're singing the praises to high heavens, Nick Morrow leads the Eagles in tackles for loss this
Well,
year.
they're clearing the path. That's the point.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
But
that doesn't
how
surprise
many
me.
tackles for loss did our boy Edwards have last year? Or shortly not 8 after 5 games. If the defensive line is that good, should have cleared the path for them last year too. And they
well, I would
kind of
say about TJ proving how good TJ is. He was very highly rated last year with the Eagles.
Not number 5. At no point did he get to number 5 in the ratings of linebacker last year.
Well,
He might have been higher.
Yeah, he was there. He was number 6. He finished number 6, so he very well might have been number 5.
Yeah.
I don't have week by week, but he finished number 6. Right now, he's number 20 behind the worst defensive
even
front.
in Chicago.
Yeah,
wow, he's still playing good football. If he's number 20 in Chicago.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah.
He's a good player. But I will say Nicholas has played tremendously. Yeah, but that's my point with Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis isn't making the plays. He's mucking it up. It's so linebackers can run freely. That's what he does. And I talked about it with Jody. I didn't know if that was going to be too esoteric because people want to see production. And that's not his game. His game is to make it easier for everybody else. And it's working. And I think people are starting to realize that guy's pretty important. And if he doesn't play this week, they'll start to realize how important he is because it's going to be much. And Washington doesn't have scary running backs, Damo, but it's going to be much more difficult to stop the run if Jordan Davis isn't in there.
All right. Go ahead, Damo. Sorry.
I was just going to say it also means that Fletcher Cox would have to play more snaps, and Fletcher's played a lot of snaps already, and he's played well. But if Davis is out, it puts more stress on him on a day where the weather. I don't know what the weather is for Sunday. If it's still going to be unseasonably warm, but
I think it is. But I think it's now there's some rain. I think forecasted, so we'll see how it shakes out. But on paper, I think it's a good matchup for the Eagles. Now, the one thing I don't think we brought up this week, Tomo, is Dallas is next week. Division game, but no such thing as a trap game. I mean, Dallas is a little bit more meaningful.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in clubs with Nick. He seems to be pretty good at keeping them focused on a game at a time.
Except when he puts on the Beat Dallas T-shirt. He thinks that's his biggest mistake. Yeah,
I don't think we have to sweat that one.
That was the 2-5 Nick Sirianni.
Johnny Mac, I got to ask a helping hand here. I'm going to respond to someone on the stream. Who was the safety that the Eagles signed last year from San Francisco?
Jaquiski Tart.
Jaquiski Tart. All right. Dominic Dabney, one of our streamers who contributes on the stream on a daily basis, the president of the Jaquiski Tart Fan Club, who told us he was the best safety in the Eagles camp last year. How many snaps did he play for the Eagles last year?
Oh, that would be a big goose egg. Yeah,
that would be none. Who just called me a hater. So I'm going to live up to the reputation. My first over-under today was, will the Eagles get 7.5 sacks on Sunday? And I'm going over. Man, I'm such a hater. So here's my next one. Jalen Hurts turnovers, 1.5. Are you going over, Damo? Because the Eagles are 7-1, and Jalen's doing a lot of nice things, but he's already turned the ball over this year as much as he did all last year. That's 7 games as compared to 17 games. He only played 15, I know, but the Eagles played 17. That has been an issue. Not always Jalen's fault, tip balls, this, that, and the other thing, but he's turned the ball over a good number of times so far this year, over 2.5 sacks for Jalen. 1.5 sacks to get to 2.
Sacks or turnovers?
The way I said sacks, my bad. Thank you for correcting me. Turnovers. Jalen Hurts turnovers.
I'm going to go under. I mean,
Okay.
I think it's like going to be a point of emphasis this week for him because he knows that if he doesn't turn the ball over, they win this game. So he's going to ball security is going to be important in that. Unless there's some fluke plays, I think this could be a turnoverless game for him.
Let's talk red zone, Domo. All of a sudden, we see some life in the red zone. The Eagles have incrementally got better. They were 27th, and they're 23rd. Now they're 19th. They're in the top 20. As you pointed out, 4 of 6, 4 of 5 if you throw out the final red zone possession, which was, running out the clock. So really 4 of 5. And they're throwing the ball. And that's what we said. They needed to throw the ball. They had the 19-yard screen pass to Dallas Goedert for a touchdown. 14-yard A.J. Brown where it breaks 2 tackles for a touchdown. But, things have a way of evening out in the NFL. And they were so bad, you knew they were going to get better. It was just a matter of time. I'm still concerned they cannot run the ball traditionally in the red zone. Is that just a lack of having that type of back, do you think, versus something else?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's that, or we'd see Peniak out in the field one of these weeks. No, I mean, I just think teams have doubled down on stopping them in the red zone as far as running the ball. As I mentioned later in the column, their RPO game is not nearly as productive this year as it was last year. Teams have stopped that. Jalen's and now that Jalen's knee, I don't think we're going to see him be reckless running. So they got it. I mean, teams are daring them to beat them in the red zone the way they beat Miami last week with those 2 touchdown passes. That's how they're going to have to do it if they're going to continue to improve in the red zone.
Interesting question off the point you made. The RPO game, not as productive as it has been last year. Well, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Are the teams stopping it better and therefore the Eagles are using it less? Or I'm trying to remember back to week 1, and I don't think they ran a ton of RPOs that week. I don't have the exact breakdown in front of me, but I think just in general, they've been using it less. Are they using it less because the other team's stopping it, or is the other team stopping it that's forced the Eagles to use it less?
They're not really using it that much less, Jody. They're still the team with the most RPO plays in the league.
Really?
I think, but I mean, it's down from 2 years ago when they just used it a lot. Last year it was very productive, but they cut down a little bit. But they still led the league in it. It's them in Atlanta. Which is a run-oriented team. No, it's that. Every no matter we remember the popularity of the Wildcat. Well,
oh yeah.
Guess what? Defenses sat down and with their pencils and figured out a way to stop that. And this offseason, one of the priorities was stopping RPO plays around the league, particularly with the Eagles. And so, yeah. I mean, I'm not exactly sure right now without looking what exactly defenses are doing to stop it specifically. But the Eagles' numbers are not nearly as productive. It's like 8-1 last year, might be 4 something this year per play in RPO. And if you look around the league, it's not just them. Everybody that's running RPOs is getting less out of them this year because defenses have figured out a way to stop it or at least slow it down.
Yeah, what do you think about, the league as a whole, Tomo? It seems like defenses are catching up to the sort of modern style of offense a little bit. The scoring's been down. A lot of people have already said you see the pickup in ticky-tack illegal contact fouls to help the offense along. We all know the league wants points on the board. Is this just a natural sort of pendulum effect? It goes back and forth, and the offenses will wake up and say, all right, we gotta do something differently. Or do you think, hey, defenses have figured something out here?
Yeah. I mean, the league does not like this. I mean, they want
No.
scoring. They've always wanted scoring.
Yeah.
Because they feel it's exciting, and that's what's going to get people to tune in and keep the ratings high and keep their pockets filled. What usually happens in this league is, the offense, the rules are set to favor the offense, and they score a bunch of points, and the defense catches up. And then the league changes the rules again, whether it's liberating, offensive, blocking situations or cracking down on how you tackle. And then the defense catches up again once the offense gets the lead. But we're at a point now where I don't know what the league can do to help.
Yeah. How much more? How much more?
Yeah, so, it'll be an interesting.
Now, I've heard the theory that, quarterback play is just down as a whole.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of great quarterbacks.
That's part of it. Yeah.
You buy into that at all?
Yeah. I mean, I did a story for 33rd Team about 3 weeks ago on why sacks and pressures were had gone through the roof. And, I talked to people, and a lot of the reasons, right at the top of the list was the inexperience at quarterback. I mean, the Brady's, the Phillip Rivers, the Drew Breeses, all those people are gone. And they've been replaced by these young kids who are still waiting for the light to go on or still feeling their way. I mean, the numbers as far as starts among quarterbacks was way down. A lot of guys with like maybe nearly 10 with barely 2 seasons worth of experience. But you also had, all the empty sets offensive coordinators are infatuated with. The fact that you don't, I mean, preseason is nothing now. So there's always going to be rust early on in the season. You can go down the list of several things that have caused it. I want to see what happens here now that we're in week 7 through, the rest of the season. Now that the rust has been off, now that you can't blame it on training camp and preseason, let's see, what happens going forward.
One of those earn while you learn quarterbacks is going against the Eagles this week. I think Sam Howell, seeing as he leads the league in sacks, would fall into that category. I quickie quiz for both you guys. Tommy, you first. See if we match up opinion-wise. Can't be wrong here. It's purely an opinion. Who is the best Wildcat runner in Philadelphia Eagles history? You went Wildcat on us yesterday, and this name came immediately to mind for me. I want to see if the same one comes up for you.
Michael Vick?
Ronnie Brown?
He's a quarterback. Wildcat means it's got to be someone, am I just making this up here? Someone other than the quarterback running the football.
Ronnie Brown?
No, the Wildcat. I mean, you can run him in a quarterback, but yeah, I see what you mean. Ronnie Brown with that great, that memorable fumble.
Right last name, wrong first name, McMullen.
Yeah. What was the kid, Bryce Brown?
Bryce Brown.
Oh, yes.
Best Wildcat runner in Philadelphia Eagle history.
Yeah.
I think he was the last Eagles. He's a 7th, or they only got 7 rounds in the draft. So I think he was a 7th-round pick. And you know why? The reason I remember it, where did he play his college football?
Where did he play?
Right? Well, about 5 places, if I believe.
Yeah.
But
one of which was Kansas State, which is the nickname of the Wildcats. He came. He was a Wildcat when he showed up. So the Eagles said, let's make him a Wildcat. He was damn good at it. I remember.
Oh, yeah. I saw where you're going. I get mixed up with the Jayhawks and the Wildcats, so I was hesitating. Kansas is the Jayhawks.
Boy, he was, he was a guy you watched run and thought, this is the next great running back.
Yeah.
And his career.
He was talented. He was talented, Bryce Brown. But I remember the Ronnie Brown play. That was great. So I threw Ronnie out there. The Wildcats, that was That was a quick
football fans. Yes, they do come and go.
yeah, that was a quick bad that came and give. It came and
I
went
still see it
pretty
occasionally.
yeah, pretty quickly. Third downs, you mentioned defensively, and this kind of, bringing it back to my point about the defensive front, masking some of the deficiencies. For these teams that are able to protect on occasion, there are plays to be made down the field. Miami made a number of long conversions, as you
Yeah.
mentioned. Do you think Kevin Byard calms that down a little bit?
I think he certainly helps, yeah. And getting Blankenship back. I think that, the two of them together, I mean, it's going to be a big difference. I'm still interested to see if they make one more, if Howie makes one more move before next week's trade deadline. I mean,
Kenny Moore. That's the name I don't even know if he's available, but that's the name
Yeah.
I would look at. They still need a slot corner. 7 guys. And that doesn't even count Zach McPherson from the preseason. It has been unbelievable how many moving parts they've had in the slot. Nobody can take advantage of it. The Rams took advantage of it for a half, and it was ugly. It was an ugly half with Cooper Kupp. And then the front said, all right, we'll take it from here. And that was it. It's been pretty amazing how they've persevered. Do we give Sean Desai credit? Sean's getting a lot of credit. I like Sean a lot, and I think he's doing a real good job. But yeah, I don't give him credit for the slot stuff. I mean, to me, they're just throwing stuff at the wall, and none of it's working. And they just say, all right, Jalen Carter, go make somebody miserable. And that's how the best slot corner, this is how I described it on this team, is the defensive line. That's the best slot corner on this team. It's been a mess.
Do we not give Bradbury and Slay credit too? Because the defensive line is that good? Or
you just screwed me, Jody, because I forgot Slay played in the slot for a tiny bit in the Rams game, and that makes 8 because I didn't count him.
Really? Did he have a slot snapper too?
Yeah,
I didn't even realize that.
Very few, but technically, so that technically makes 8.
Well, here's why I give you credit, Johnny Mac, because you were very outspoken about why the hell are they even thinking about moving Bradbury into the slot? It just made no sense. He's such a good outside. Why would you do it? Well, you know why? And you're right. The Eagles threw up their hands and go, yeah, we got to stop this. They knew what they had at slot. They knew it wasn't good enough. They figured, well, Job is better than all the slop in the slot. Let's give this a shot. And they realized, Job isn't all that good outside either, so we better get Bradbury back out there. And that's all Desai and his defensive backs coaches, which they have two on the roster. I think they got a ton of credit because they've used those moving pieces and tried different things and haven't just said, well, this is what we believe in. This is our defense. It's been don't break. All hail to Fangio.
Well, I do give him credit for trying different things. I do like that, but I do want to emphasize on the back end of that sentiment that none of them have worked, which is why they keep looking. And that's they've done a tremendous job persevering. Again, I go back to Doug, multiple injuries at the same position. Now, it hasn't all been injuries. It started with injuries. Most of it's ineffectiveness, to be honest. I mean, Goodrich wasn't good enough. Ricks, they've tried. I mean, people love Ricks for whatever reason. They're not going to put him in the slot for 70 snaps. I mean, they're not insane. Sidney Brown did get injured. I think you're going to see Sidney move back to the slot now that Byard's here. Roby got injured. So we're talking about 4 injuries if you add Zach McPherson.
You have to throw stuff at the wall. When you got 4 guys injured, you better throw something at the wall. Somebody's got to play in there.
Yeah. And ultimately, I think it's Roby when he's back. But unless they pick up somebody else, unless they get a Kenny Moore. And next year, they already picked up that kid from Indianapolis. What's his name? Suspended for gambling.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Isaiah Rodgers.
Yeah.
He'll be the nickel corner next year. Because of
Maybe they'll
Bonte.
move Byard down.
Byard can play in
And
the slot as well. Justin Evans can
yeah.
play in the slot.
So
He'll be
if
back
Sidney Brown is not healthy this week, or is
No,
healthy?
he's healthy. He played last week. He started as
I
safety.
don't know how quickly Byard could assimilate to the slot as opposed to playing safety. But I mean, you could always keep Sidney back and move Byard up and have him playing some slot.
Yeah, we might see the first game, but 6, 7 slot cornerbacks. But throw everybody: Sidney, Justin, Byard. Try everybody.
You have to have that many guys up to play that many in a game, and they don't think they're good. They still like to have a lot of those defensive lines up on game day as well. They should, because they've been dominant there. All right, Damo, need you on the record. You and I are over 7.5 sacks. Hater Jody McDonald, hater Paul Domowitch, but yet we're coming up with 8 sacks for the Eagles on Sunday. Are you coming up with an Eagle win? What do you think the final score is when they're all said and done down in D.C. on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, I think Washington's a team tumbling right now, and I think this is going to be a lopsided game. I think the Eagles' offense is going to hit on all cylinders. I'm looking at 38-17.
Ooh, big win!
Wow, you got
Damo can't be called a hater this week.
No,
I mean,
no hater status for you. I guess I'm keeping the hater logo because I'm not going 21. I got to have the Eagles winning, but I'm not going by 3 touchdowns. Good on you, Dom.
You go back to that first game. I mean, what, 4 Jake Elliott field goals? I mean,
yeah, they were. Yeah, they didn't finish drives. Yeah,
right.
That's fair.
I'm thinking maybe that they're ready to start finishing drives, and
count them, 5 Eagle touchdowns from Damo this week, 38-17. Check out his entire stat package on JAKIBSports.com. Damo, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you again next Friday. Enjoy the game on Sunday.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Paul Domowitch here with us on Birds 365.
Big win from Paul Domowitch.
I'm not going 3 touchdowns. I'm going to pick the Eagles to win. First time all year I picked them to lose last week. I had to eat crow with that one. Losing to the Dolphins. I'm not going there again. So I'm going to pick the Eagles to win. I'm debating on my score a little bit in my own mind still. But I need you on the record too, McMullen. You correctly said the Eagles are going to win a close game last week. No one had the Eagles winning by 2 touchdowns last week, and that's ended up being what they did win by. You got them winning this week, and by how much?
Yeah, I think they're going to win the game. I think, Washington's kind of leaking oil a little bit. I don't think it'll be as bad as Damo has it, but I do think it'll be relatively comfortable, 28-17-ish. I think, the Eagles are too good. The one concern I had, I briefly mentioned it, is Dallas on the horizon, but they, as Damo points out, they've been good at, staying in the moment in the Nick Sirianni area. And it is a division game, so it's tough to overlook division games. But, Dallas is big, as it usually is, between those two teams.
Believe it or not, thing that scares me this week, courtesy of John McMullen earlier in the show.
Jordan Davis
does not look good.
Yeah, well, he is.
You know
what? But Washington can't run the ball anyway. So I think it'll be worse, obviously, if they don't have Jordan Davis. But then you're talking about maybe 90 yards at 3 yards a clip or something like that, which is, how they beat them, to be honest, here at Lincoln Financial Field last season. But also added into that was all the turnovers. So, ball security.
And by
that's
the way,
how the Eagles lost to the Jets.
The Eagles are turning it over at a quicker rate this year than they did last year.
Well,
that game last year was an outlier. 4 turnovers by the Eagles. You come into the game and say, do I think the Eagles can turn it over 3 times? You can't just dismiss the possibility.
No, you can't. I mean, they're 6-1 for a reason. The one is 4 turnovers. It's a theme. When they do lose, they generally turn it over.
And I don't think they're turning it over 4 times. That's why I'll be picking the Eagles. Damo says 38-17. Johnny Mac says 28-17. I'll give you my pick next hour. Bill Colarulo, I'll hold his feet to the fire. I'm going to get his picks next hour. Johnny Mac, safe travels over to South Philly. I'll catch you on Monday.
Thanks, Jody. Appreciate it, Bill. Thanks for stepping in. And yeah, Eagles win as usual.
We shall see on Sunday. All right, McMullen's out. Bill Colarulo coming in. Gonna join me for hour number 2. We've got Andrew DeCecco from InsideTheBirds.com. So he's gonna jump on with us in about 20 minutes. Hour still to go here on a Football Friday on Birds 365.